Wentz steps up. Here comes the rush. He is going deep, and it is caught. And in for a touchdown, Deshaun Jackson.
Give the people what they want.
Rube, I can't figure this team out.
I can. They're better when Carson doesn't play.
This is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan with Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. I guess maybe it is that simple. Who knows? I don't think it is, but
I don't either.
Yeah, definitely an impressive win over a really good Saints team that, has a chance to make a deep run in the playoffs. The Eagles come out, they beat them. The final score was actually closer than this game really was. The Eagles had a pretty big lead in this game. The Saints got a touchdown late. But yeah, a 24-21 win. You can argue a win's not a good thing, but they're still trying to get them. So I thought there were plenty of good signs from this Eagles team, and we'll go through all of them. We'll talk about Jalen Hurts. We'll talk about Doug Pederson's reaction in the post-game press conference to Jalen Hurts. Certainly an interesting press conference from Doug Pederson. We'll talk about Miles Sanders, the run game, the defense, and then it's been so long since a win. There's no Dave's Positivity Corner because most of this podcast will end up being positive. So we'll have Roob's Negativity Corner making its debut at the end of the show. But we have to start with Jalen Hurts. It was an impressive performance. The numbers aren't eye-popping. On the ground they were. He wasn't super dynamic through the air, but a really solid first start for him.
Yeah, and I'm already getting people saying, if Carson had the same stats as Jalen Hurts, you wouldn't be saying how well he played. First of all, Carson hasn't had those stats in a while. And, it's also – this is his first start of his life against the best defense in the league. A team that had won 9 straight games. You got to put this into context. And he had the fumble that was just a bad. He shouldn't even have the ball in that situation. But he did have a fumble at the end. But he was clean. He made plays when he had to make plays, throwing it or running it. If you look at his passing numbers and then you add his rushing numbers, you're talking about overall efficiency. And he played well, and you can't deny it. And for a first NFL start, are you kidding me? Against the number 1 defense in the league, to do what he did, to come out and be methodical and be calm and be efficient and be productive and convert big plays and big moments, 4th downs, 3rd downs, and to win the game. This is a team that hasn't won a game in 6 weeks since November 1st. There's like truth deniers out there who just, for whatever reason, don't want to give Jalen Hurts any credit for what he did. Now, was he perfect? No, he wasn't perfect. But it was a hell of a promising start by a 22-year-old kid who really hasn't played that much football, didn't have a preseason, didn't have mini camps. And, all of a sudden, the O-line looks better. All of a sudden, the receivers are open and he's making plays down the field. It wasn't a ton of them, but he didn't need to make a ton of them. He did what he had to do to win. And I was impressed as hell. And again, did he throw for 300 yards? Did he throw 3 touchdowns? And I don't care about that stuff. I'm looking at a guy who was in command of the huddle, had a ton of confidence, had a certain presence about him and made big plays. And, if you want to start talking about his stats, whatever. W is a stat, and they don't win this game without Jalen Hurts. I was really impressed.
Yeah, and the rushing numbers were great. He made, and a lot of that. Look, there were design runs, and there were those zone read type of plays, but a lot of that's just him scrambling too. And that can kind of cover up a lot of the blemishes, and we saw that with the O-line. We saw that with him with the receivers. The receivers aren't open. And the O-line blocks for 4 seconds. Jalen Hurts can get out of the pocket. He can pick up a first down. He did that a few times. It wasn't perfect. And we're going to get into Doug Pederson's comments on Jalen Hurts. I understand why he wants to kind of temper the praise a little bit. Yeah, he took it to an extreme. But, look, I get all that because it's a good first start. We're not putting the kid in Canton. But the bar for quarterback play was really low. It was really low. It was basically like, show us a sign of life, and the Eagles will take it. And he did that. He moved the chains. It's funny. They had that first drive, 8 minutes and 11 seconds, and they don't score. And you think, uh-oh. I mean, if they can't score on that drive, this might not go so well. But it was his first drive, and then after that, I think that drive did a lot to kind of instill some confidence, and he played well. He played pretty well in this game, Rube.
Yeah, so he had 100. Well, he ended up with 106 rushing yards with 3 kneel downs. He had like 110 before that and 167 passing. So that's about 270 yards. So that's how I look at it. If Drew Brees throws for 270 and they're all passing, yards are yards, and he's moving the sticks. And I think a lot of it is, and I know I'm a big stats guy, and I have fun with stats, but so much of football is just, you watch a guy and you just kind of get a feel for what he's doing. And I don't know how much there is to it, high tide raises all ships and all that, but the whole team played better, and you can't deny that. And I don't know if it's a direct correlation. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't think anybody does, but you can't deny that, a lot of things looked better with Jalen Hurts playing today. And I was kidding last week when I said Rager's punt return was because of Hurts, but I think there is something to, and part of it is probably, it gets the team's attention. When a guy like Carson Wentz gets benched, I mean, everybody kind of is like, whoa, we're serious. We really all have to raise our level of play. I think there's something to that. Josh Sweat was asked about that today, who's not probably the ideal big picture quote guy. He's like, was I worried about getting benched because Carson was? No. but I think there is that dynamic, when something like that happens. But there was just something there that's been missing. There was a juice, there was an energy, and playmaking, really. And that's where that juice comes from. And will he get better? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, one guy tweeted me, "Oh yeah, let's see what he does next week." Like, all right, we'll see what he does next week, and then, we'll kind of look at the trends. But for a first start, do you know who the last quarterback was to beat a team on a 9-game winning streak in his first career start?
No, why would I know that?
Because I tweeted it out. I thought you followed me.
I actually muted you.
I don't blame you. There's only 2 quarterbacks. No, you wouldn't have had that Matt Barr stat if you muted me. There's only 2 quarterbacks in NFL history that have ended a team's winning streak of 9 or more games in their first career start. One is Ron Jaworski of the Rams. In 1975, he started the last game of the season, and he went like 6 for 13 for 79 yards, no touchdowns, interception, and a passer rating of 33.8. And I assume the Steelers rested their regulars because the Rams won the game like 10-6, and then the Steelers went on and won the Super Bowl, and they had the top seed wrapped up. It was the only game the Steelers lost in their last 15 games that year. And that's the only other guy that's ended a team's 9-game winning streak in his first career start. So, yeah, I mean, are we lavishing praise on him? Yeah, because, you put it into context what he did. And I was impressed.
Yeah, I was impressed. And I think Doug Pederson was impressed behind closed doors. I'm sure he's praising Jalen Hurts a little more than he did in the post-game press conference. So we have to talk about it because it's strange because they win a game, they snap a losing streak, your rookie quarterback plays well. You coach a heck of a game, by the way. I thought Doug Pederson had a heck of a game as a play caller. But it was just so tempered and calculated in the press conference. And we all got it. We get it, right? There's a $128 million elephant in the room. And I think there's so much fear about anytime someone praises Jalen Hurts for this attribute, you're saying Carson Wentz doesn't have it. And that's not true. That's the way it'll get misconstrued sometimes. But for Doug Pederson to not even say Jalen's the starter next week, are we kidding ourselves?
Let me read some of these quotes real quick from Doug Pederson. He was asked, how many times? 8 times? People were desperate to get him to say something nice about Jalen Hurts. And he was even asked, why aren't you saying anything nice about Jalen Hurts? And he said, he obviously was a part of the win, but my hat's off to a lot of guys in this football game. Defense, I thought, played outstanding with the 2 takeaways. He starts talking about Sweat and Hargrave, who played well. That's the number one, and then he talked about the O-line. He was asked again about it. Are you being muted with your praise because you have to take into consideration Carson? And he said, I have to take into consideration the entire football team. I don't know what that means. Jalen played well. Obviously, we won the game. But, there's a lot of good performances out there tonight. Defense stepped up, offensive line. So every time – and then he was asked, well, Miles Sanders said he showed great leadership out there. What would you say to that? He said, I would say that's pretty accurate. He was asked, is Jalen going to be starting against Arizona next Sunday? He said, I'm going to enjoy this one. I'm going to go home, relax, be with my family, enjoy this win, and get ready for the week. He was asked if anything he did surprised him. He said, no, nothing he showed today. He hasn't shown in practice or this week in practice. His ability to obviously escape the pocket and throw on the run, but nothing really out of the ordinary from him that we didn't expect. He was asked one more time. He's like, somebody asked him, might have been Marcus Hayes, said, Doug, your rookie quarterback in his first career start just beat a team on a 9-game winning streak that has the number one defense, maybe probably the number one team in the NFC at this point. And, you haven't said anything nice about him. And he said, well, it took everybody in uniform to win this game. How many chances have you had, Doug? It took everybody in uniform to win this game, not just one guy. It takes a village to get this stuff done. And like you said, I understand what he was doing, but it was way overboard. And, you're allowed to say, and I'll tell you what, if Carson is that threatened by Doug saying, Jalen went out there and made a lot of plays and really for his first start did an exceptional job leading this team. If that kind of innocuous quote threatens Carson Wentz, then Carson Wentz should be in the National Football League. And I don't think it does. I think that's why, Doug went way overboard in it. Gosh, say something nice about the kid. He wasn't.
You think it was more for the benefit of Carson Wentz or for the idea that you don't want to start more hype around Jalen after one game?
I think it was more for Carson.
That's scary.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been both. Jalen Hurts is about the last guy I would expect some praise from the head coach to change the way he does anything. He's so chill and he's so unaffected by anything. Praise, credit. He just kind of goes out and he was talking about how he can't wait to go back to work Wednesday. I guess he didn't know if he was going to be with the ones or the twos, but I don't know. That could be part of it. With Doug, who knows? Trying to understand Doug's motivations to say the things he says is an impossible task, especially this year, because sometimes I don't think Doug knows why he's saying some of the things he says.
I've never seen a head coach look so dejected after such a big win.
Yeah. Yeah, you would have thought they got beat 30-6. I don't know. I don't know. It bothered me. It bothered a lot of fans, judging from the reaction on Twitter and social media. Give the kid some praise. He may never win another game. I don't know. He may become a Hall of Famer, but he went out there and did something special today. Give him some praise.
Yeah. But look, I think we all kind of understand that it's a tricky situation for the head coach to be in. It is. It just is. And we'll see. I don't think anyone really knows where this is going long term. My guess is that, if Hurts keeps playing well and he plays well these last 4 games, then yeah, it invites a whole different discussion to the table. And maybe that's what Doug's trying to avoid after one game. I think that makes some sense. But look, if he plays this well and they start winning, if they win games, they're not dead in the NFC East. And as much as we've talked about, and we'll talk about their standing in the division, and it's funny, they could still get a top 5 pick, or they go in the division. Both scenarios are still there.
It might be the first team in history. Well, it goes for the Giants and Washington too. That with 3 games left could either win the Super Bowl or get the 5th pick in the draft.
Yeah, it's obviously really strange, but they legitimately have a shot. I don't know if Washington's going to cough it up. They've been really hot recently, but. It's alive for the Eagles. And if Jalen Hurts takes you there, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, then it's a different discussion. And my guess is that that's part of the reason Doug doesn't want that discussion to start after one game.
Yeah, but you can be a little muted in your praise and still acknowledge. did some good things.
Yeah, and he did. And I'm sure it's much different behind the scenes. I'm sure Doug Pederson will have nice things to say about Jalen Hurts to the team, to Jalen Hurts. You're not fooling me that much, Doug.
At Nissan, we just made your choice for a new car an easier one than ever with our most exciting and fuel-efficient lineup. The choice is yours. Now get great offers across our full line. Shop your local Nissan store today at nissanusa.com.
The Eagles really ought to invest in another blue pop-up tent.
They can use about 3 or 4 of them.
I mean, there were a few times during this game where players were waiting for their turn in the medical tent. I mean, and that's not the first time we've seen that. A ton of injuries in this game. Darius Slay, Rodney McLeod, they were already without Avonte Maddox. Who else? Malik Jackson, Josh Sweat. I'm missing people. I know. Sean Bradley. Yeah, it was a lot. In the secondary, they were down to just Jalen Mills, the only starter left in the secondary. And we'll see how significant some of these injuries are, but give the defense a ton of credit in this game. I mean, sure, it ended up being 21 points. There was the late touchdown on a short field. That stuff happens. Overall, I thought they played a really good game. I thought the defensive line had its best game in a long time. Maybe of the whole year, you're right. And even the secondary held up. I mean, it wasn't pretty at the end, but you have guys in there who they're not even on the roster yet. You know, they're guys who they just called up. And they're forced into action. You had a guy out there named Kayvon, what's his name?
Seymour.
Kayvon Seymour, yeah. I mean, good old Seymour out there.
Seymour secondary injuries. And it doesn't look like Cravon. Really, you got to have a Cravon and a Kayvon. Doesn't look like they haven't even activated his practice window, I don't believe, right? No. Same with Greg James. They're both on IR. Michael Jacquet didn't play. He's got a hamstring. So they were down 6 DBs.
Graylin Arnold was out as well.
And Graylin Arnold didn't play. He was out. So, yeah, down 7. Not that he's a body. He's been here.
I know his name.
But I thought the D-line was tremendous. We're seeing Javon Hargrove, I think, each week, be more of a force. He was terrific. Sweat played as well as we've seen him play. Fletcher was the whole D-line. Brandon Graham for the 5th straight game didn't get a sack, but he was really active. Those guys were good against the run. They got terrific pressure. They didn't let Taysom Hill beat them. I thought, and that goes for the whole front. They really contained him well. I think he had 4 for 23 or something. He was never a factor running, which is certainly, a fear, especially considering what Lamar Jackson and, what every quarterback has done, Daniel Jones. So I was really impressed. It's a game where you don't really look at the points. It would have been nice if they, finished with, under 20, but, the last touchdown never should have happened. That whole sequence, when you're trying to run out the clock, that's not when Jalen Hurts should have the ball in his hands.
Yeah, I wonder if Doug's a little worried about Miles' ball security there.
Yeah, but Jalen Hurts' ball security, Boston Scott I don't think he's ever fumbled, has he?
I don't think so.
Wasn't Jordan Howard up? Yeah, put Jordan Howard in there. You couldn't wait to use him last week.
He was not up.
But, yeah. So, anyway. But, I just didn't like having the ball in Jalen Hurts in that situation. But be that as it may, I thought the linebackers played well. Duke Riley had the pick. He had another tackle for loss early. That was big. He was right in there on the onside kick. Although I guess Jalen Hurts officially got it, but they both kind of – it was funny. Duke Riley said they were in that pileup for like 20 minutes, which considering everything going on, it's a little scary with COVID and everything. But he said we weren't going to leave this pile till midnight if we had to. We had our hands on the ball. We weren't moving. But, yeah, he played well. Singleton, he gave up the touchdown. His coverage was fine. That's not really his strength. That's not what he does, but he's been so good against the run. He's a sure tackler, gets good pressure when he blitzes. I think he played really well. I thought the linebackers were good. The whole defense. On big plays, they came up big. On a 4th down, Sweat got the sack, fumble. although that didn't matter. They just they had 5 sacks off in the D line, so that was big.
Yeah, Fletch had 1, Sweat and Hargrave both had 2.
Yeah, so Sweat's only 1 behind BG now for the team lead.
Yeah, I mean, Sweat and he showed some power tonight too. I mean, his 1 sack was a power move.
Yeah,
he's putting himself in the conversation to be a starter next year.
I think so, especially with Barnett's status kind of up in the air. I still kind of think Barnett's going to be here. I think they'll figure that out. But at some point he's going to be a starter. I mean, who knows how much longer BG is going to play? So it's going to be interesting how that plays out. But he was big tonight. He's got 6 sacks now, and he's not playing as many snaps as Barnett and Graham. Close, not quite as many. He's a good player. He gives you some effort against the run too. He really hangs in there, and that's not what he's known for, certainly. But the effort's always there. That's true for Barnett too. They're not, they're kind of those modern era edge rushers who go after the quarterback, but their effort against the run is commendable.
I give Sweat a ton of credit because, I mean, they basically IR'd him halfway through his rookie year, and they were like, you need more time. He wasn't that hurt. He had an ankle injury. He could have been back in a couple of weeks. But I give him credit because he did what he needed to do. He put some weight on. He got stronger. It's easy to say you're going to do those things, but it is hard to do that and also keep your explosiveness. And he's been able to do that. I mean, I really give him credit for becoming the player he's become. Because how many guys have we seen with that, that kind of lanky, long body? You're like, there's something there, but they really need to put the work in, and it just never works for them. Sweat's the case where it has worked, and he's become a really good player.
Burgess.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, no, I mean, the first time I saw him, it was hard not to think about Curse. I mean, he's just long and lanky, and he has some freakish ability, not to that level, of course, but there's some of that in him. And I give him credit. He's become a really good player. Anyone else on defense we have to single out?
No.
I don't think so.
I mean, hopefully, gosh, Darius Slay's gone through 3 different injuries in 3 weeks. So, we'll see what happens with him. Rodney McLeod, I mean, we don't know, but that didn't look good. That was a non-contact injury. That's scary. Maddox as well. They're going to have to cobble the secondary there. There's like 3 straight years that, they've just kind of turned over the secondary. I'm going to have to, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take to keep these guys healthy. They'll miss Rodney. I don't think he's having his best year, but he's been pretty good, and they don't have a lot of depth there.
I mean, they had Kayvon Wallace as their deep guy, and look, I think maybe they have a little something with Kayvon. He's not ready for that.
No.
They need Rodney out there, and I don't know if they're going to have him. And they're going to. You're right. They have to cobble together something in that secondary because hopefully Michael Jacquet can come back from a hamstring. They're going to need him. If not, they're going to have to get these other guys ready.
Will Park's on Denver's roster or practice squad?
He is on their roster. He had a sack today.
Did he?
Yeah.
You can use him.
They could, if only they had that guy. Miles Sanders, big game. And it was funny. We both said the same thing after he broke that long one. It's like, this is why you keep feeding Miles Sanders, because he can do that.
And he will do that. And he's got that home run potential. He's the first running back in 8 years with 3 70-yard runs in a season. And it was 3 guys in 2012. I think it was AP, Chris Johnson, and Jamal Charles, I believe. Mm-hmm. Check that. But he's such a home run hitter. And he was 7 for 14 before that run. And you can just see Doug thinking, I can't give him any more carries. He's 7 for 14. And he still didn't have enough. He only had 14. They didn't run a lot of plays in the second half. I think they had 29 offensive snaps in the second half. The Saints had the ball a lot. He only had 6 carries in the second half. I thought he was pretty good throughout. He had a couple other good runs. It's tough to run on that team. Mm-hmm. The Eagles are the first team with 200-yard rushers against the Saints. I'm sure you know this, since the St. Louis Cardinals in 1980. did it with that's 40 years ago. And it's the first time they allowed 100-yard rusher in their last 56 games, and they had 2. They're not an easy team to run against. But with Miles, once he gets past the first level, man, he's gone. And he got some great blocks on that play. It was good all around. But
Kelsey had a heck of a play on that one.
Kelsey did. Ertz did. I think Alshon did, actually. I think Alshon had a good block, believe it or not, on that play. But, he finished, 14 for 115, 2 touchdowns. He's the first Eagles running back with a 100-yard game and 2 touchdowns since Ryan Matthews. Waiting for the Ryan Matthews commentary. But they ran for 246. Rager had a 19-yarder. And Boston Scott had 6 yards. So they ran for 246 yards. It's the most the Saints have allowed in 7 years, I think, 2013. That's the number 5 rush defense, number 1 overall rush defense. They had 246 on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is because the Saints are always up on teams, honestly. Yeah. So I don't think there have been a lot of opportunities for teams to run on them. But you're right. I mean, for them to have that kind of game against them on the ground is impressive.
And I think Hurts, I think a lot of it is Hurts. 2 of Miles' 3 70-yard runs have been with Hurts behind center.
Yeah, and I think, and we see it on a lot of those zone read type plays where they have to respect Hurts so much that it really does open up a lot for Miles. I think he realizes it. And it's fun to watch because, hey, look, even when Hurts was getting like 2 snaps a game early in the year, you can see how much the defense keys in on him. And when he's out there for an entire game, it's even more. I mean, they have to be aware of him on every snap as a runner. I mean, not just so that they have to worry about him taking off and running. So if guys are a half second late getting the Miles Sanders, I mean, he is fast enough to make you pay, and he's going to do it consistently. And yeah, you're right. There's a second level to that guy running the ball that enjoy it because it's rare. And with a running back, you never know how long they're going to have it. And he has it right now.
Yeah, I do think 18 carries is too much for Jalen Hurts. 3 of them were kneel down, so 15 carries. I think that's about the high end of where he needs to be. First play of the game. I don't want Doug to get this guy killed here.
I get the first play of the game, though.
Get him comfortable, maybe. I would have gone the first play of the game. But I'm not Doug. I don't have any rings.
I thought Doug had a heck of a game.
Yeah, I do too. No, I do too. But
and it's so tough to watch that and go, where the hell was that? Where was that for the first 12 games of the year?
But they're such different quarterbacks that if he had called this kind of game for Carson, it wouldn't have worked.
I guess, but they can run a mesh concept with Carson Wentz. Where's that been? I don't know. It was look, it's not like Doug was trying to call bad games with Carson, but it's just weird that he seems to have a better idea of what this rookie quarterback can do. And he's been with Carson for 5 years. And it seems like there's been a disconnect between the two of them.
No, that's fair. I guess there's just certain quarterbacks Doug is more comfortable with, and how that plays into the future, I don't know. But I mean, Doug called great plays for Carson in 2017.
He did. And at times the last 2 years too.
Sure.
We always talk about Carson and that was off on a tangent. We always talk about Carson in 2017. He was pretty good in 2018 and 2019.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But it was good to see Miles involved. And it was good to see he caught 4 balls. They weren't, big, huge gains, but it was good to see him catch the ball securely. Jalen Hurts is, again, off topic. He throws a really soft ball. I don't mean he lobs it. I mean, he throws a very catchable ball. Mm-hmm. He has good touch. I don't know if he's got a rocket arm, He's
got a pretty good arm.
I think he's got a good arm. I don't think he's got, the ball to Rager, that was a pretty good deep ball. And I think maybe Rager could have made a little better effort for that.
At least a fake dive, make it look like you're trying.
It looked like he just didn't have his balance or something, but he probably should come up with that. But no, I do think he has a good arm, but I really like his touch. I think he's got a nice soft touch that makes it, easy to catch, his ball. I think sometimes Miles drops from Carson or just maybe a little too much zip on it. Jalen just kind of puts it right where he needs to be, and that's a good attribute. Hey, if you're a football fan, and why would you be watching this podcast if you weren't? You need to check out this new. Maybe you're just a Dave Zangaro fan. That's possible. There's a lot of them, but you need to check out the new game Sunday night 7 on the NBC Sports Predictor app. There's no reason not to play. It's totally free, and it's got $2 million in guaranteed cash prizes with $100,000 up for grabs every week. Just make 7 predictions about what will happen on Sunday Night Football for your chance to win some serious money. Download the NBC Sports Predictor app or head to NBCSports.com/predictor to make your Sunday night 7 picks.
So we mentioned that the Eagles still in this division race, but Washington wins on Sunday. They've won 4 in a row. I mean, that team, they're not, it's not a fluke. I mean, they're a well-coached team. They're playing hard. They win, the Giants lose. So right now you have Washington at the top of the division, then the Giants, then the Eagles, then the Cowboys. But they're only a game and a half out, and they still have to play Washington. So, I mean, if it comes down, it could still come down to that game against Washington.
It's incredible. Washington has allowed their last 4 games, 9, 16, 17, and 15 points, playing great defense. They play Seattle at home and then Carolina. So Ron Rivera versus the Panthers, certainly interesting in a couple of weeks. And then obviously finish the season here. Now, the Eagles, to win the division, all they have to do is get to the same number of wins as whoever it is, whether it's the Giants or Washington, because that tie is half a win. So if Washington goes 1-2 the rest of the way, they get to 7 and 9. The Eagles just have to get to 7 wins, which means they have to win out. So if Washington wins one of their remaining 3, the Eagles have to win out to win a division.
I mean, realistically, the Eagles have to win out to win the division.
Most likely, yeah. I mean, if the Giants would have to go 2-1. So yeah, same situation. They're not going to win out. Well, maybe I will. I don't know. I think that there's certainly, some concerns in the secondary. But if
this was the toughest game they had left on their schedule.
Which is?
This was.
Yeah, the toughest game they have left. I mean, Arizona looked better today. I think they had a 4-game losing streak coming in. Mm-hmm. Dallas, looks pretty winnable now. It could come down to the last day of the season. Eagles, Washington for the division title. Imagine that. Ron Rivera versus Doug Pederson. They coached together. But at least, I don't know. Anything's possible. I think it's tough with the injuries. We'll see, how Rodney is and everything. They're really decimated in the secondary. They don't really face any high-powered offenses. They face some teams that run the ball and play defense. So, we'll see. But
well, I mean, next week's an interesting challenge with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. Like they have some playmakers. So that would be tough if they don't have. Yeah, if they don't have Slay next week. Heck, if they don't have Slay or Vontae next week, you're going to have Kevon Seymour on DeAndre Hopkins. Not ideal. You like that?
I like that matchup for Seymour.
Welcome to Seymour Island. The other side of this is draft stock here. Yeah. Eagles down to 9th. They came into today at 6th, I believe.
Yep.
They're down to 9th. So they have a 4-8-1 record. There are 5 teams sitting at 4-9. So that they could still.
The worst thing they could do is go like 2-1 and not win a division, or like win out and not win a division. And then they kill themselves with the draft pick and also don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, that would be a worst case scenario.
That would be the worst case scenario. The best case scenario, I think, is that Hurts plays well and they start losing.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It's funny because earlier in the season, when we talked about the division and the idea that you still want to win the division, no matter what, you still want to try to win the division. My whole thought process was I want to get Carson Wentz in the playoffs. I mean, That seems like a long time ago we're talking about that, but I want Carson Wentz to finally play a full playoff game And now he's probably not. If they get to the playoffs, he's not going to be the quarterback.
Well, Doug won't say. They'll win out. They'll win their last 4. They'll win a division. Doug, you excited to see Jalen in the playoffs? So I'm not going to name a starter yet. It might be
I'm happy we won the division. I'm going to enjoy this tonight.
Might be Thorson. Might be Kyle Oletta. Could be McGloin. Could be anybody.
Yeah. What's the best case scenario?
I think it's that Hurts plays well and they lose and they don't win and they lose the next 3. I think you need to get as much information on Hurts as you can. And this is one game, and it was impressive, but it's not really a body of work. You need 4 good games from him, see what he's all about. Does there need to be open competition in training camp next summer? Is the job going to be Hurts if he plays great? Is it going to be Carson's if he doesn't? There's so many different ways it could go. Maybe one of them's not here, which I don't really expect. I think they'll both probably be here. Can Hurts play well enough that you can flip him for a pick? Kind of doubt it. But he's an interesting player. Maybe somebody else.
You use a second on him. What are you going to get? Unless you get a first back.
Yeah. Well, if you get a second for him, if you get a 2 for him and you trade him, and then Carson's still struggling next year, then where are you? So there's just.
Well, I wouldn't trade him for a 2. You just use the 2 on him.
Yeah. So you got a free year out of him.
I guess. Anything else?
No.
I want to get to. Well, I'm really excited about this because Positivity Corner doesn't exist today. We're going to go to Roob's Negativity Corner. What do you got?
Jake freaking Elliott missed a 22-yard field goal.
Doink.
It was the shortest miss by an Eagles kicker since Matt Barr missed a 21-yarder in 1993. That's Neshaminy High School's Matt Barr, Bucks County. Same high school as Len Barker, pitched a perfect game for the Cleveland baseball team. And same high school as Phil Sheridan, our good friend and longtime Eagles writer. Dave's falling asleep. Well, you can't miss a 21-yard field goal. That whole onside kick, the whole end of the game would not have had the same drama if the kid had just, made them. I mean, how do you miss a 21-yard field goal? I mean,
it was
you
ugly.
can't do that. And he's now what, 7 for 14 this year? No, he's missed 6. He was 6. He was I don't know. He was 9 for. Anyway. He stinks, and they're stuck with him. He's got a $5 million dead money next year because of the big contract they gave him. And his base is $3 million. His cap number, if they keep him, is $3 million. So but you know what? They might have to. They might have to eat that. I don't know how you eat $5 million with the cap going down when you have all these cap troubles. I don't know what you do with them.
Yeah, but you need a kicker. You need a kicker you can rely. I mean, they're at the point now where you can kind of like Doug's aggressive anyway, but it has to be playing in Doug's mind when he's going for some of these, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. But if you have a 4th and 11 on the 13-yard line, I mean, you can't go. There's certain times you got to kick a field goal. I mean, he made a nice 44-yarder earlier, crushed it. Missed a PAT last week. I mean, he's just been awful.
Kickers.
And kickers around the league just keep getting better and better and better. I didn't see this coming, man. The way he played in 17 and even 18, I mean, he was – every kicker the Eagles have had who's been good has gone bad. Paul McFadden, every single one. I mean, Cody Parkey, the Alex Henry kid. I mean, he never had great distance, but he never missed. Mm-hmm. You never tried him from beyond like 12 yards, but he was like the most accurate kicker in NFL history. Cody Parkey was. They all were. This kid was. And they just all go bad for like 2 good years.
It's really kind of strange.
You get a kicker, you get 2 years out of him, you cut him. It's like the Patriots do with running backs. You're not going to get more than that, so you just get rid of them.
All right, I need something for Roob's Negativity Corner. Nickel Roby-Coleman had a really bad missed tackle.
Terrible.
I guess he played all right after that. I don't know. He hasn't played very well all year, but they kind of forced him in the duty outside. What else for Negativity Corner? Nate Herbig had a couple false starts. Overall, I thought the line played fine.
Yeah, well, they gave up no sacks. And, I hope people understand there's a connection between a quarterback who's decisive in getting rid of the ball quickly and has escapability and knows how to use it and when to use it. This team had given up 3 or more sacks in 10 straight games. That's the 7th longest streak in NFL history. They didn't give up any today. And people tell me, oh, that's because JP wasn't in there. That's because Doug called better plays. I mean, obviously JP not playing helps. I can't believe that's the point we've gotten to, but it does. But Jalen Hurts is why the O-line looked better. He was decisive. He was quick. He got rid of the ball. He threw the ball away like 6 times, which I love to see. He didn't just stand there and like, okay, sack me, like we've seen Carson do. So that was good to see. I thought Mulata played another really good game. He's that kid. It's gonna be interesting next summer. I don't think he can play Dillard from what I've seen from those two guys. I think Jordan Mulata's got to be your left tackle.
Yeah, or at the very least, there's a competition that I have no reason to believe Mulata wouldn't win if it was a fair competition.
And then there's, Lane Johnson has got a very serious injury that hasn't gone away. I mean, I hope he's healthy. I expect him to be healthy. But when you start talking about your ankle collapsing, you wonder about his future. And he's 30 now. He's not a kid anymore. And, we know Dillard's not going to play the right tackle. I think that's pretty clear. Mulata's better at left tackle, but, that who knows? I mean, hopefully that's not an issue. But, Jordan Mulata's pretty good.
You got anything else before we wrap this up?
It was, it's nice to have. I mean, I feel like the last few weeks we're just repeating ourselves. They suck. So it's kind of cool to have something different to talk about.
Yeah, it was cool to see Miles Sanders after the game. Just so happy. I mean, you forget the toll it can take on some of these guys just losing week in and week out.
You just started giggling.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of NFL players giggling.
Yeah, he was giddy. I mean, he really was giddy. And you get it. I mean, this city, when the Eagles are losing, can be a miserable place for everyone. And now think about how miserable it has to be for the guys who are losing those football games. So it's good for them. I don't know what it means, but it was a really big win over one of the best teams in the conference. So, yeah, you can't take it away from them. I did want to give a quick shout out to the Eagles, a really classy gesture. They had a little setup for John Smallwood, the late John Smallwood, had a moment of silence for him. I think we all really appreciated that. That was a really cool gesture from them.
Yeah, John's just an all-time, what a gentleman and a really thoughtful voice. I loved reading his Sixers stuff. He was one of those guys that really had informed opinions on every team and never had to raise his voice to make his to share his opinions. He was great on DNL because everyone was screaming around him. He would just be so calm and everything. He was just he's a great family guy. My condolences, our condolences go out to his family. He's missed.
Absolutely.
And that was a great gesture.
Yeah, it really was. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. For Roob, I'm Dave. We'll be back with you guys later in the week when we find out who the starting quarterback will be. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you guys soon.